Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Audible.com, a leading provider of spoken audio information and entertainment. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Visit audible.com/twist for your free audiobook. And by Hiscox. Do you have the proper insurance for your startup? Get the right insurance right now with Hiscox. Tailored coverage starting at only $22.50 a month. Visit hiscox.com/smallbiz to get a quote. And Amazon Web Services. The fastest growing, hottest startups build their businesses on Amazon Web Services. Learn more at aws.amazon.com/startups.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, and this is This Week in Startups, the program where we talk about starting new companies and being a founder of those new companies. I am here in Chicago for Foundercon. Foundercon is the yearly conference that Tech Stars, an incubator accelerator, puts on, and they bring together 300 of their current companies and alumni and founders to just talk shop. And I was lucky enough to be invited, and I'm interviewing 3 or 4 of the great companies here, as told to me by industry experts and my crack research team. Today on the program, we're going to have a company called Orbotix that makes the Sphero. And the Sphero is a very cool toy that we're going to get into. Stick with us. It's going to be a great episode.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today on the program, we're going to have a great entrepreneur, Paul Berberian from Orbotix. Orbotix is a robotics company, and their first toy is called the Sphero, and he is out of Tech Stars. Paul, you at a Tech Stars Boulder? You were at Boulder, right?
We are a graduate of the 2010 class out of Boulder.
2010 out of Boulder, so that was maybe the 3rd or 4th class out of there, or?
I think the first class was 2007, so yeah, about third class.
Yeah, and so tell me about the company and the product.
So as you mentioned, Orbotix is kind of a 21st century toy company, and our whole goal is to make really cool, fun, inspirational robots that help and change the way people play, learn, and kind of explore their world.
Got it. And the first toy is the Sphero,
right?
Which I've seen before, but I saw an early prototype years and years ago. It's come a long way, baby. You got this beautiful packaging.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, wow, this looks like an Apple product or something. But you take it out of the product, you take it out of the beautiful packaging, and boom, there it is. A ball that feels, I would say, almost the weight of a cue ball. It's got some weight to it, doesn't it?
It's about 180 grams.
Right, so I have no idea what a cue ball is, but and what's inside of here, and why is that important?
So inside of there is a robot that can move essentially in any direction by climbing up on the sides of the wall. So imagine if you were to put a little hamster inside the ball, or perhaps a little more technical, if you took a little miniature Segway and put it inside the ball.
A gyroscope? Would I be correct in saying that?
Well, there is a gyroscope. It's a MEMS gyroscope, so it's not a physical gyroscope that you might have on a spacecraft.
Right.
But it is a little gyroscope that helps keep the orientation of the ball.
Right, and then there's some motor in there spinning it and climbing around in there.
Right, there's a couple of motors, and it all connects together, and there's some pretty sophisticated software in there.
Now, I noticed I was taking the packaging out, and for those of you listening, not viewing, there's like a little ball holder here, and then the 2 sides of the packaging are ramps.
Right.
And so it comes with 2 of these little ramps, very cute, and then here's another, I guess this is the charging base or something?
That's an induction charging base.
Oh, it's inductive charging.
Right.
So explain what inductive charging is for the neophytes.
It's wireless charging, so you don't need to open up the ball or plug anything in. You just plop the ball into the charger. It finds its center and aligns and charges via the magnetic resonance that it creates to send the energy up into the batteries and charge the ball.
Now, did you have to do inductive charging so you didn't have to put like a dorky hole in the ball.
Well, exactly. We wanted to keep the customer experience to this, elegant form. We didn't want you to open it up and then plug it in.
Yeah.
And one of the byproducts of it was the ball became completely airtight and watertight, so you could throw it in a pool.
Oh, is this poolable?
Yeah, and it floats. And we have a little cover for it, a little nubby swimsuit that helps it swim.
And so when you throw, we didn't even get to the movement of the ball. So now, once the ball is charged and I turn it on, how? I don't see any buttons on here, and I don't see a remote control in the package. So what happens next?
So the ball is controlled by your smartphone or tablet, so iPhone or Android device.
Great.
And the way you control it is via Bluetooth. So you would download an app, and there's actually over 25 different apps, but you would download the main app, the Sphero app, and that would give you the capability to drive it around and have some fun, and then explore other apps from there.
Got it. And so, what was the initial? When did the initial product come to market? Because the one I saw early on looked nothing like this, and I don't even know if the one I saw was even in market yet. But is this the 1.0 of the product, or is this the 2.0?
This is the 2.0.
Got it. So explain the 1.0, that came out and what you learned from it.
The 1.0 was originally debuted as a prototype at CES 2011.
Okay.
And we shipped the first units like 2 weeks before Christmas. So we shipped 500 units in 2011, and then everything else shipped after that. So 1.0 basically started 2012. Mm-hmm. And
how did it do?
It did. We sold every unit we could make. We
Right.
couldn't make them fast enough, and we had to air ship everything, which is a terrible way to run a hardware business, is air shipping consumer electronics all over the place.
Why is that? 'Cause the shipping cost gets ridiculous?
Crazy. Yeah, it eats up margin.
Right.
And margin's everything in the hardware space.
So these are made in China, I take it?
These are made in China.
Shenzhen, where? Guangzhou?
Outside of Guangzhou.
Okay. So made in outside Guangzhou, and the 1.0, you sold thousands of them, tens of thousands? What was the approximate range?
We've sold about 100,000 of those.
Wow. Fantastic. And the original one went for $100 or $150?
Same price, $129.
$129. And shipping it via... You shipped them from China to the U.S. via the air?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that because shipping them in a container takes months or weeks?
It probably, if you want to be safe, budget about 7 to 8 weeks to load in, load out, and transit the sea. The retailers that were carrying them would run out of stock. They'd want to refresh the PO, and we couldn't put it on a boat and wait. Building a toy, you're very seasonal, so you need to spend your year building up inventory, get everything in position for the holiday, and then start distributing as the units go off the shelves. And we were just too young to do that. We were playing this just-in-time inventory, and the ball looks incredibly simple, but it's really complex to make. I mean, we have to deal with weather inside the ball because it's completely airtight. And if I seal in air from China, it may have different characteristics than what I think would be ideal for a long-term operation of a robot. So
really, even that, the air quality could mess with your robot.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because of particles in the air and stuff like that, or just the density?
Humidity.
Oh, humidity.
So one of the tests we do is we charge the ball in a refrigerator to make sure that there's no condensation, because it's very humid in China, and the ball will heat up and cool down, and when it cools down, it can condense, and then little water droplets could cause problems for the robot.
Hey, so what's your background that gave you the chutzpah to make a physical robotic thing like this and sell it? Because it sounds like a crazy thing to do.
It is. I've done numerous startups,
okay,
such as yourself. This is number 7 for me.
Oh, wow.
And
you've been to the show.
I've been to the show. I've had some successes. I've had a couple of failures, and it's humbling. But you want to get back up and show everyone you actually can do it again.
You are not a fraud.
Yeah,
and that wasn't a fluke when you sold that company. But you hadn't done hardware, correct?
I hadn't done hardware. Well, my father always, my father was my mentor, and we always had these crazy companies where we made stuff. Right? We made, like I was sharing with you before we started, we made liniment for thoroughbreds. We made pharmaceuticals where the doctor numbs your gums before they put in the Novocaine needle. We made that. We made hand lotion.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
I had a dentist who did that, where they rub the whatever it is, cream or ointment on your thing, and then they give you the Novocaine. It's like double Novocaine.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's genius.
We've had other physical products where we stamp things. And
So your pop was a craftsman.
he was really a opportunistic entrepreneur. He would buy existing businesses that had a building attached to it, and he would do nothing with the business except let it gradually run into the ground, but pay for the building. And then when I became like 20 years old, we had like a dozen commercial buildings around Southern California.
Your dad's a genius.
Yeah, it worked out. And so he'd buy all these mom and pops and they had
For the
to
real
have
estate.
For the real estate. And the business would pay for the real estate over time. And
Wow.
And he'd use child labor to run the business.
Namely, you.
Yes.
Did your pop get to see this one make it to market?
No, he passed away in 97.
Too bad. He must have been very proud of you, though, to go and become an entrepreneur.
I think he was. I mean, you know, he was my angel financing for my first success, and that was a big time in our relationship when I actually paid him back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. If I talk to 10 entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs, I don't have perfect data on female entrepreneurs. You show me 10 male entrepreneurs, I'll show you 7 complex relationships with their dads.
Yeah.
Maybe 8.
Yeah.
They're always very complicated. You know, either competitive or combative or both, and their dads are almost uniformly either entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who got crushed or maybe who wanted to be entrepreneurs. So
Yeah. The relationship had many nuances, but that's a subject for a different show.
Exactly. So, looking at the product, you get the 100,000 out. You probably don't make much money on it. You lose money on it. You break even with the R&D and everything.
Yes, we don't make much money. I mean, we are, you know, positive gross margin, but the shipping and the cost inside weren't optimized for, you know, making millions of units. So this second generation, we've essentially improved the performance by virtually every measure that I deem is, you know, valuable to a customer, that we deem is valuable to the customer, such as speed and brightness and the sound of it and its connectivity. But we reduced the cost by like 30% in terms of manufacturing.
Wow.
And we have created manufacturing processes that allow us to get a whole bunch of these made on boats into region so that when this Christmas season hits, you know, we're not air freighting stuff. I mean, we air freighted a little to launch, but we're making thousands of units a day now.
Oh, wow. All right, when we get back from commercial break, I want you to explain to me the 2 or 3 most important things that an entrepreneur considering doing a hardware startups needs to know, because I know there are some very specific things that you have in mind for that when we get back from these very important messages. Hey everybody, what a great episode we have for you today. I'm really enjoying it. And one thing I'm really enjoying all the time is Audible. As you guys know, I've loved Audible for many, many years. I use it every day. Literally every day I drive to work and I listen to an audiobook because I don't have the time to read, but I want to be smart. I want to be informed, both on a cultural basis and also on a business basis. And so my pick today is Flourish by Martin Seligman. And this is a book about happiness and people performing at a high level. And if you're an entrepreneur or you're running a company, this is something you absolutely need to know how to do. You need to understand the psychology of your team members, and you know your own psychology to manage it yourself, because you're constantly dealing with good and bad things happening. And the more you can understand about human nature, the better the products are that you're going to build. You can access Audible, of course, from anywhere, your computer, your iPhone, Android, iPad, anywhere on the web. And they've got 150,000 titles in every genre. I have the Audible Platinum plan, which gets me over 20 books a month, 20 books a year. Go to audible.com/twist, audible.com/twist, and you will get a 30-day trial. And my book of the week, again, Flourish by Martin Seligman. Go ahead and thank at Audible_COM, Audible_COM. Thank you so much, Audible, for sponsoring the program. And this is a couple of times they've come back and sponsored This Week in Startups. It is a great tool, and it's so affordable, and you just buy the books before you need them. I load my Audible up. I have Salinger sitting in there. I have the Checklist Manifesto, which I actually just listened to, and I've been referring other people in my companies to, even companies I'm investing in. This is the great thing about Audible. You can load it up, put 3 or 4 books in there. I have maybe 100 books in my library after 7, 8 years of doing this. And anytime I'm on a plane or I'm stuck in traffic, I can just get some intelligence into my brain and feel nourished on an intellectual basis. Thanks so much, Audible.com. A great product, and it works flawlessly on the iPhone and Android. Let's get back to the program. Hey, everybody. It's Jason, and this is This Week in Startups. And my guest, Paul, is from Sphero. Actually, the company name is Orbotix, like robotics, Orbotix. But the product is Sphero, and you can see it at Go Sphero, Sphero. And when we left our hero, he had probably somewhat broken even on the 1.0 of this great Sphero product. Got the 2.0 ready for market this Christmas.
Yes.
And the first one sold 100,000. What do you think the second one's going to do? What's your hope?
There's millions.
You think you can sell millions of these?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of magic inside of this. If people take time, it's just a hell of a lot of fun to drive, right? Because you're driving a ball.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't that be fun? But when they dig deeper, there's many different layers that we put in it. It's very programmable. We have teachers using it in classrooms. We've run educational events. I can teach a fourth grader how to program this ball in less than an hour, and they are doing complex geometry.
Oh, so there is an API to the ball, as it were.
Yes. Well, there's numerous APIs. There's 14 of them.
Oh, really?
We support 14 different languages that can be developed, from very simplistic things that a child might use in fourth grade to very complex things like Objective-C. If you're going to write your own app. But so it's very programmable. It has multiple games. It does we've done some fantastic stuff with augmented reality, where you look at the ball through the camera of your iPhone or Android device, and the ball gets removed and a three-dimensional character gets put in, and it walks around the room and you can interact with it. And there's other types of games, tabletop games that you would play with your family, multiplayer games like tag. So it's got this huge range.
How does the tag work? You just have two balls, and I hit you, and then I have to run away from you.
Exactly. It's like tag when you were a child.
Awesome.
And you do it, and you can have 5 or 6 people, and it turns into a bunch of crazy fun where you have all these balls going around, and the red one's it, and everyone's trying to hit the red one.
So what's the user reaction been to the product? 1.0, 2.0.
I think it's like every new product that comes out, you're going to have your early adopters. They're going to have high expectations that the ball could do something magical. People were writing saying, "I want it to fly." I was going, well, buy a helicopter.
Yeah, that would be a drone.
Yes,
the paradrone. In fact, go get that one.
But we started off getting, I'd say, good reviews, but not 5 stars.
Right.
And we are inching our way up there. And I think if I looked at our latest reviews, they're all like 4.5 to 5 stars now.
Oh, great.
So it's required, multiple iterations, listening to our customer. And what you need to realize is we can screw things up. I mean, just a month ago, we screwed things up terribly by releasing a piece of software that made the ball less fun for existing users.
Huh. What was that specifically? It worked differently?
Well, so it's a piece of hardware, and you can have the hardware perfect, but if the software that drives it isn't, that's what the user interface is. So if the user interface to controlling the device isn't perfect, then they're going to get upset. So we released an app where this ball moves so quickly that we came up with this idea amongst ourselves, and we even tested it with some kids, that there's no way we should let you drive a fully leveled up or a fully powered ball because it moves too fast. You won't have the skill to drive it well right out of the box. But what everyone wants to do when they buy a new toy is full power and go.
Right.
And because that's what you want. And then if it breaks, it's shame on you and you'll go buy
it. It's like the Segway. They give you the yellow key, the red key, the green key. They want you to go slow. And what does every idiot who just got on the thing want to do? They want to go high speed.
Yes. And they got rid of that eventually because of user feedback. Yes. They gave you this other, you could turn it, they got rid of that concept and focused more on training. And so we released an app that kind of created that experience, the red, yellow, green key. And the feedback from the users was they hated it. And they let us know within minutes after pushing the release. And, we had a bunch of 1 stars that we had to deal with. And so we kind of messaged everyone.
1-star reviews in the App Store.
Yeah, which is bad for us.
Well, you can't get rid of them, and then if everybody, like, when people are pissed off, they all like that review, it's helpful.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you have to live with your worst moment forever in the App Store. The App Store review system is broken. Apple, take a memo.
Well, the beauty of it is if you release an update, you get to start a clean slate.
Of course, yeah.
So we released an update, and we fixed the problem. But we were very proactive. I mean, that's the beauty of having a connected device, is I can message all my users and saying, I'm sorry, we broke it. We will fix it. Please be patient. And that sort of communication got our users to say, it actually helped our 1 stars trend up closer to 4 stars because at least they were being heard.
Yeah.
And then when we released the app, it got us up to our 5 stars. But it's unlike any other business, right? I mean, if you rewind the clock 5 or 6 years ago, you never would get that kind of user feedback within minutes after pushing a release.
Which is pretty fantastic.
It is. I mean, it's great for us, especially to get that feedback from a hardware device. So
now, when you started doing hardware, it was pre-Kickstarter days or early Kickstarter days? Certainly pre-Kickstarter boom days. You were before the Pebble
It was
Watch.
definitely Kickstarter was nascent at that time. I don't know when they started, but I'm pretty sure it didn't cross our minds to use them. Or if they did, we were like, we're not going to raise any money there. We need a real VC.
And so you raised venture capital for this, $15 million, in fact, in venture capital. What was it like raising venture capital for a hardware and or a toy? I mean, gosh, at that time it was pretty unproven, wasn't it? The sort of hardware space, a lot of naysayers back then.
Well, and I still think there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of looky-loos now. So the naysayers have turned into looky-loos, but I don't think you're seeing a tremendous amount of investment into hardware plays. It was tough.
Why is that? I mean, are VCs just, are they lemmings and they're just thinking about the past? Because you do see like Jawbone and Pebble and GoPro and just tons of companies really start. I mean, and even the one company, what was the Flip, the Flip camera, which was a bit of a disaster for a while, but Sling, like Flip got bought for $500,000, Sling got bought for a couple $100 million, I think. And then you have Jawbone crushing it. I mean, you do have these companies really seeming to crush it. Why are they, what's their concern?
Well, it requires a tremendous amount of capital, right? The more successful you are, the more money you need to invest in inventory.
The inventory issue.
Yeah. So there's that issue. It's not software margins. I don't make 85% margin on my hardware product.
Right.
You'd
be lucky to make 30 or 40, I guess.
Well, we need to be above 40, otherwise the business,
tanks.
It's just a hard. You need to sell a lot just to break even. So we're pushing towards in the 40s, and with accessories we can probably get closer to 50%. And some of the new products we're dreaming up, we now know what the economics should look like. So we're going to price them appropriately versus you pick a price as an entrepreneur and then you figure out how much it's going to cost you and you realize, it's costing us a lot more to make this robot than we thought we would.
Yeah.
But I think VCs, by and large, are enamored with the model that they've seen work in the past, which is, get millions of users, high margin business, recurring revenue business. I mean, every day I have to sell a new customer on one. I have to go find a new customer, a new user to enjoy a Sphero, and it doesn't. You have to prove that you can start generating revenue from your existing base, and that requires a substantial base before you can actually prove that out.
Yeah. How'd that work out for Apple? I mean, they did tremendous, right?
They did, fantastic.
They printed more money than the U.S. government this year, I bet. Like they have a ton of, they have just huge margins. And so what are the lessons? I mean, if you go back into a time machine 4 years ago and talk to Paul from 2007, 2008, and give yourself just 3 pieces of advice on doing this project, what would they be? Aside from not using air shipping. We got that one already.
I think I would advise myself to I'm trying to like give myself good advice because I probably am I sitting back
or other hardware vendors, right?
Yeah, I think I it's the maniacal focus on the product.
Got it.
We had to make some decisions early on in version 1 that didn't necessarily give us the most profits and the best user experience, but it got us out there. And if I could roll back the clock, I probably would have. I don't know if I would have launched when we launched. We launched very aggressively. We went from a PowerPoint deck on September 1 of 2010, and we shipped hardware on 14 months later. And through that process, we had to go through 2 rounds of financing and staff up a team and design a very complex piece of hardware and firmware and get it out into the market. And having, if we decide to say, you know what, we're not going to launch for this Christmas, let's launch in June. We probably, because of the 5 or 10,000 units we sold in the first couple of months of 2011 really wouldn't have changed things. I would have made it all up at Christmas time. I would have taken that extra 6 months. So I would have budgeted 20 months to build the product versus...
But you have an investor base who's used to web time, like 6 months to getting the product out the door, 3 months to a prototype, 3 to 6 months to prototype, 6 to 9 months to launch. They're not used to this 20 months. You say 20 months, and investors like, 20 months. What am I doing here?
Well, I mean, if this is the advice, it may have been bad advice.
No, I think it's actually probably really good advice. I think it's probably people getting used to the nature of hardware companies and how they're different.
Longer. It takes longer. But the amazing thing about hardware companies, I mean, there's a plus side to a hardware company, is that your revenue can grow extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm selling a $100 unit, every day.
Right.
Hundreds of them, thousands of them. It's just it's the money is there.
Right.
When you have a product that people want.
Right.
And it just shows up and it's great.
How is it? How do you get people to buy it? Is it now that you have a product that you consider a 4.5 star, or the public considers a 4+ star product, almost a 5-star product, 4.5 star, split the difference. Is it really just a battle for shelf space at the Targets and Walmarts and whatnot, or is it infomercials, or is it Amazon, or all the above? How do you get this in front of people effectively?
One of the decisions we made early on, which was a really kind of a weird decision for a startup, is like employee number 6 or 7, we hired a videographer, for a full-time videographer. And all he does is shoot awesome videos of Sphero and people playing with Sphero. And we put those out on the web. I think we did like 60 some odd videos last year. And that has helped drive the awareness of our product. We don't have the budget to do television commercials. We don't have, we can do some YouTube advertising and some Facebook advertising. And, we'll buy a print ad if they're going to run a feature on us, right? It's kind of one of those tit for tat types of things. But what we really spend our money on is relationships with our channel partners. So our stores that sell it, like a Brookstone or an Apple.
Is it in the Apple stores?
It's in all Apple stores globally. This unit is, which is a different.
And
different
is that a great outlet? Do people actually buy there?
Well, it's certainly a badge of quality. If you get into the Apple store, people go, that must be a cool and unique and interesting product.
Yeah, I feel safe buying anything at the Apple store.
Yeah.
Like I bought a stand and I bought a case and I was like, they seem overpriced at $50 each for my new MacBook Air 13-inch. But I was like, it's at the Apple store, and if I pay $10 extra, who cares? There's somebody doing curation here.
Yeah, they do a lot of curation, and it's sometimes you get very frustrated with the process working with Apple, but then you also love it because if I can get through this, it means we're good. We have a badge of quality. It's the good.
Do they actually use the product and tell you like, hey, the product's good, we don't like this? Like, is there somebody who's going back to you saying like, can you change this?
Yeah. I mean, you commented on our packaging. Our first packaging, when we showed them to Apple, they go, that's not going in our store.
Really? Kicked it back to you on the packaging?
Oh, yeah. It was like, thanks for flying out. No, that packaging doesn't look good. And we, so everything on that packaging is approved by Apple.
It screams Apple. Like, this is exactly the case. This tall, rectangular kind of thing is exactly how you open the MacBook, the Airport Extreme.
Okay,
and your time capsule comes in a box exactly like this. I mean, a little bit taller. It's not the exact dimensions, but a similar experience. It's absolutely gorgeous. Hey, is this going to be a company of one product or
No.
a company of a collection of products?
It's got to be a collection of products. And what we realize is in the toy space, you either build SKUs or you build brands, right? Nobody wants to buy a SKU because SKUs come and go. Right? Barbie is a brand, Hot Wheels is a brand, Transformers is a brand, Star Wars is a brand, and there's a gazillion products underneath them. We need to do the same with our product, with Sphero, and kind of create a family of interesting, fun, and inspirational robots that you look at it and you don't know how the hell it moves, but it just makes you smile when it does.
So more heroes.
There will be more heroes.
And so the one I hear most about is copters and drones and all this kind of stuff. A lot of people are obsessed with those, and you obviously control them through your smartphone. Like I guess the Parrot drone is the one most people do.
Right. Yep.
I've bought it as a gift. I see it in Brookstone. It's like sort of next to your product. This whole category is that in the future? You think that would be appealing, like a drone type product?
I don't think we would do a flying machine. There's a lot of we have a very interesting demographic of our users. We have a lot of girls that own Spheros. I mean, we probably, if you look at toy robots, I don't think there's a toy robot that has more girls than we do.
And you have a theory on that?
I do, because I think the form factor is it's very approachable. It can become anything you want it to be. It's cute. It kind of has a personality. If you look at a drone, it's 99.9% males, and it's actually older males. It's not. You don't see 14-year-olds getting drones because they're $400 product or $300 helicopter, and they can be dangerous, right? Spinning blades and stuff.
Yeah, somebody's gonna get whacked.
Yeah, so I don't think you're gonna see anything flying from us. There's a lot of companies pursuing the flying space. Let them go have it. We want to really create a product that you would never expect to see, kind of become a robot. Like, there's a reason you and I didn't grow up with the robot balls.
Why?
Well, because first of all, the technology that's in here only existed like since 2009, where you could actually buy these really cheap, accurate sensors.
You have one.
Yeah,
interesting. You have a clear one.
That's the Sphero Revealed that's available at Apple.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that. You can actually see inside of it. So they have a special limited edition.
They have the limited edition at the Apple Store.
And wow, you can see all the motors in here and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty compact in there. There's a lot going on in that little guy.
How long does it go if you charge it? You get
over an hour. So I've driven it over a mile from. I live in Boulder, and I can drive it from my office to my house, and I could just walk home and just drive it all the way home.
Is it possible for it to follow you around like a pet? Because that was like one of William Gibson's theories, is that there would be these like little robots that would follow you around. Or if you saw Blade Runner, he made Sebastian was like, "They're my friends. I made them."
It's absolutely possible. Matter of fact, the very first app that we released to the public had a feature called Follow Me. And what we do is we sync the gyro and accelerometer in the phone with the gyro and the accelerometer in the ball, and they kind of follow each other. What we realize is, well, the gyro we actually use the same chip that whatever Apple has used in its product, we would use the same chip, just because it was the best chip out there.
Yeah.
But we would do more processing on ours, and we'd do more calibration on ours. So ours would kind of have better performance characteristics than the previous Apple devices. The problem is these gyros and accelerometers, they're good for a period of time, and then they lose their brains. This next generation, the generation that's in here, and the generation
here being the 2.0.
The 2.0. And the next generation then it's in the iPhone, the Core Motion stuff, we're pretty confident we're going to build a really fun Follow Me kind of app where the robot will just... And the old ball couldn't keep up with your walking pace. This one now will move faster than you can walk because it moves at 7 feet a second, which is faster than what most people walk at. So we can build one where it will follow you around. And we could even build it where multiple units could follow you around.
Wow.
Right.
There's some interest. Yeah. There's something interesting there in the pet Tamagotchi. Was that the
Tamagotchi?
Tamagotchi space. that I would think. Is this a big seller in Japan? Are you big in Japan is what I'm asking you?
We hope to be big in Japan. We are launching with SoftBank this holiday season.
Oh, you are? Masa.
We did a deal with them.
Yeah.
For distribution in Japan and with Apple stores in Japan. Japan market is a very tough market. If anyone doing hardware, you have one blemish on the box and they're sending it back. Right? So everything has to be pristine, and all of your instructions, all of your apps need to be localized. They don't want anything in English. So we
Akihabara style.
Yeah,
it takes this right.
Yeah, it takes a lot of extra.
They're really into this augmented reality stuff. I think in the United States, people don't really get augmented reality. Or it hasn't really clicked here. But in Japan, man, they are obsessed with augmented reality maids and all kinds of other little characters and dragons and everything that you can just buy a box of software and then put a card in front of your webcam and see what you bought.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And that's one of the we've won many awards on our augmented reality where you look at Sphero and he becomes a character that's running around your house, or zombies start coming. So the picture on the box is zombies coming out of the ground and you're crushing them with your ball.
Neat. Yeah, it's a good looking shot. Hey everybody, what a great program we're having. Hiscox Small Biz is the small business insurance you've been waiting for. Don't run a startup company without small business insurance. And Hiscox offers customized coverage and competitive pricing, and you can get it all tailored right on their website. It's so fast, it's so simple. You don't need to get waste time with a bunch of meetings or getting somebody on the phone. You just go right to their website, Hiscox USA. That's HISCOX USA.com/smallbiz. That's hiscoxusa.com/smallbiz. And don't wait a week. You'll get your quote back immediately. And this is critical because people get sued all the time, and it's not even their fault. There's all these drive-by lawsuits, especially for startup companies, especially if you raise money, then you become a target, and Hiscox Small Business is going to be there for you. They've been a great sponsor of This Week in Startups for years. Again, one of our multi-year partners on the program, and it's really just fantastic. I use it myself, and you could do it for $20, $100. It's really affordable each month, and if you don't have it, you're crazy. You're just crazy if you don't have small business insurance, because you don't want to risk all your investors' money. You don't want to risk all your hard work and your team's hard work. Thank you so much, Hiscox Small Biz, for sponsoring This Week in Startups. Let's get back to the program. Is there a killer app that you have yet to find? I mean, you said there's 25 apps. Is there, like, the tag app seems to me to be pretty fun, but is there a real killer game like that you could say, like, hey, this is going to be like pool, or this is going to be like stickball, or this is, it feels like this generation should come up with their own version of stickball. Or when I was in Brooklyn, we used to play something called Kings, where you draw boxes and you would hit the ball against the wall, and then I hit it into your box if you miss. Anyway, you can look up Kings on the internet, but KINGS, it was a scoring system. But anyway, or stoop ball, we play stoop ball. If you hit it on the crack, you got 100 if you caught it. If you hit it in between the cracks, it was a 10-point catch. So there's all these different things. But is there a stoop ball or Kings or stickball version game that has yet to emerge?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You never, one of the interesting things about a hardware business is, like, if you build a piece of software to do video editing, that's all it can do. It's not like someone's going to write their English report in a video editor, right?
No.
It has a very specific function. With a piece of hardware, you never know if someone's going to use a screwdriver as a hammer, right?
So the street finds its own use for technology.
Yes, they do. Obviously, Spheros are popular with pets. We have never designed the ball to be used by pets, but it's certainly pet-proof.
You're saying cats go crazy for this thing?
Cats go crazy. Some dogs go crazy. It's a great add-on to the whole experience. If you want to buy it just for your cat, then you must really love your cat to buy him a robot ball.
Let me tell you something. My bulldogs get a hold of this, I'm out $129 pretty quick.
We've never had one come back broken.
Really?
We've had one where someone drove over with a car, but then today I just read a blog
post. It's pretty
strong.
I'm squeezing it as hard as almost as hard as I can, and I can't break it.
You can't break it. If you can break it here with both hands, I'll give you 2.
Really? If I break it with both hands? I'm really trying. It's not possible. It's not possible.
No, this thing is
So you really went to town building this in terms of quality to make sure that it can't be broken.
We go through a drop test where the unit has to survive and still function 30 drops the spec is 30 drops from 1 meter onto concrete and still work.
Wow.
While it's on. But we test it at 48 inches, 30 times, and it still has to function 100% normally.
Wow.
That's pretty, concrete's pretty hard.
I wonder if you could make this as a baseball, that I hit it with a baseball bat. I mean, it sounds crazy.
Okay.
But I might have the killer feature. When you don't have somebody to hit the baseball with, if I could just throw it up in the air, crack it, and send it to the outfield, and it automatically came back to me, and I could be just hitting balls into the field and they all came back, that would be pretty amazing.
That would be.
That would not work, though.
So would...
That's too much power.
So would anti-gravity boots. Where you put the boots on and you just hover around the house.
But it would be too much impact, clearly.
It would be,
baseball bat would be too much. You could break it with a
the gyro, the electronics can't handle that level of G-force, unfortunately.
Right.
Not for this price point. There are products out there, but you'd have $1,000 ball.
Huh. So do you think that putting this in a dog friendly or a cat friendly version of this, something that appealed to them, would be a...
We explored the pet market. It's
niche.
Well, it's not niche. I mean, it's a big market. It's just it has a different retail, ecosystem, and their expectations are completely different than normal consumer electronics. The margins that pet stores expect on their products are obscene. Like if you buy a $10 bag of dog food, they're paying $2 to get it into the store.
Yeah, the chew toy is like a 50-cent item they sell for $7.
And anything over $100, they just lock it in a cage because they have all this low price stuff on the shelf. They don't care. They're not that concerned about stuff walking off, but $100 item.
Wow, isn't it amazing you have to think about those dynamics when you're making this? Yeah, they don't have security at a pet store.
It's like they got 2 people there managing 30,000 square feet, right?
Yeah, so if you want to steal some stuff, go to a pet
go get yourself a chew
toy.
toy.
Go to Petco and just steal a chew toy. They don't care.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next? I mean, is there a 3.0? Is there a new robot coming? What can we expect from you guys?
Well, just watch us at CES. We're not
January. You might
January.
Have something.
That's a big. If anybody's going to release a new consumer electronics, CES is it. That's what we're aiming for.
It'd be a good time for a 3.0.
Well, it would be a good time for. We think this form factor is a classic, right? So, 10 years ago, we didn't have remote control helicopters, right? I didn't have a remote control helicopter growing up. Did you?
No.
Okay, but somebody came up with one, and now every child from this point forward, if they wanted a remote control helicopter, to be able to get it.
Yeah.
I think the world has now seen the smartphone controlled robot ball.
Yeah.
20 years from now, there will be a robotic ball that a kid could buy. Because it's just a natural form factor.
Right.
It's not like, remember back in 2013 there was this robot balls are here to stay.
Right.
We think there's some other classic form factors that we can make with our technology that would be great, but the mechanism hasn't existed in the past to build it, like a helicopter or like a ball. And I would just say, one of the things that we're fantastic at, and we have gone through numerous iterations to become world experts at, is how to navigate and control something that has no natural front.
What does it mean, no natural front?
What's forward to a ball?
Got it. Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of interesting form factors that nobody knows what forward is. Like with a car or a boat, there's like a pointy end. Just go where the pointy is, and that's front. The user has to have
even
a frame.
A wheel has a front.
Yeah. The user has to have a frame of reference on how to navigate this thing when they're controlling it, or even if it's an autonomous mode. If the ball goes away from you and you want it to come back to you, like in your baseball example, it has to have a sense of direction that makes sense to the user. And we put a lot of time and energy figuring out, both from a philosophical standpoint, but also from a hardware and software standpoint, how do I maintain this notion of direction that the user thinks should be, that's forward, even though the ball orientation doesn't indicate that should be forward.
All right. 10 years from now, everything goes according to plan. You have unlimited funding operations. Sphero knocks it out of the park, so to speak, no pun intended. You sell 1 million units a year. Boom, you're rolling in cash. You can invest a lot in R&D. What 10 years from now will the company look like? What would the product look like?
I think 10 years from now, we become, the next big toy company, right? I mean, we knock the block.
Mattel.
Yeah. We become we haven't seen innovation in toys. All you've seen is like, jamming into batteries and electronics, but there hasn't been true innovation in the way we play. The way kids, that's why companies that remain true to their classics like Lego have done very well. And when kids look at technology, it's it's aspirational. They're looking towards their parents, and they want what their parents have. That's why kids get iPhones. Right. They don't get some one-eyed spider baby. My first
iPhone.
Yeah, some one-eyed spider baby tablet. They want the real deal.
Right.
So we need to build toys and play experiences that center around things that the child values and sees as important, and will eventually grow into when they get old enough, as well as create devices that keep their imagination tied to the physical world. And I don't think where the toy companies are going now, where they're looking for cheaper plastic, and I just want to tag my name onto some big Hollywood blockbuster and build a whole bunch of
BS licensing nonsense.
Yeah,
Disney Princess X, Y,
well,
Z.
it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a profitable business, and they're doing quite well.
No, Disney Princess is crushing it. If my household is any indication.
Yeah, they're doing well. But the idea is I think there's a category of toys that really open up the imagination and do so the way that physical toys did 50 years ago, but do so in the environment that the kid's going to grow up in, a connected world, access to the internet, mobile devices, electronics, and programming and hardware, and all being connected, and to build a company around that theme of play.
Can you make a Star Wars chess set like Chewbacca was playing with R2-D2? That's what I want. Instead of a hologram, I want the actual pieces to rip each other apart. Like I want a robot chess piece.
Yep, it's all possible. It's all. I mean, where technology has come in terms of the sensors and control systems, it's light years of where it was just 10 years ago.
It is pretty amazing. Like the iRobot, like I guess what's his name, Rodney Brooks. And the stuff he did at MIT with the Roomba.
Right.
It's like the first Roomba was like, okay, that's really funny to. But the people using Roombas, they actually work.
Right.
Like they go actually clean floors now. They're literally cleaning floors. And then the stuff in the Amazon warehouses, I forgot the name of that company. Kivo, it's called?
Kiva, yeah.
Kiva. I mean, those are like,
I
think they cost $5,000 a year to run if you amortize the life of the robot. Right. And so they cost, 10% of what a human would cost to pack boxes.
Right.
So they just bring everything to the human. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, it's weird. The world of robotics the dawn of the robotic age is now.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem like it's hitting our day-to-day lives enough.
Well, because the expectation of us is to have Rosie the maid show up and do our dishes and make our bed.
Right.
And we think of robots as being humanoid in shape and form, and their functions should mimic humans. But if you step back and go, well, a robot is a machine that can be reprogrammed and do things differently based on what program it's running, so it's a multi-purpose machine, and it can do things autonomously, then it doesn't have to necessarily fall into that form factor. That's why the Roomba in your house is a robot that kind of vacuums, and it has its purpose, but it can act autonomously. And Sphero is going after play, because play is a very natural area to innovate and explore new ways of interacting with human and machine interface, where you can't necessarily experiment with crazy control systems and release software that might push the envelope a bit when you're doing something like controlling medical devices, right?
Yeah.
So you get to experiment and explore more in the realm of play. And that's where I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in robotics, because it has to be inexpensive, and it has to be innovative, and it has to be entertaining and fun.
It's a pretty high benchmark, actually.
It is.
I wonder why doesn't the Roomba have motion? It has motion sensors, I guess, and it knows the layout of your place. Why doesn't it have a security camera on it and do like security sweeps?
It can. It's just a matter of how much is the consumer willing to pay. The way retail works in America is the sweet spot is you want to have your, like if the product sells for $100, you want your manufacturing costs to be somewhere between, 1/4 and 1/5 of the retail price.
$20, $25.
Yeah, ideally.
So you can double it and sell it for half price to the retail, and they get to double it again.
Yeah. that model's kind of broken. If I could put $50 or $60 into the Sphero, I could put some amazing stuff in here.
And that's where selling direct comes in.
That's where selling direct and the blended rate and.
Would you do Kickstarter for 3.0, or is it you're too established to do Kickstarter?
Well, I don't know if we're too established, but the risk. We've talked about it numerous times, and we think the risk reward is. We haven't quite figured it out, but the risk reward is kind of potentially not aligned for us, right? So how much are you going to raise on Kickstarter? $1 million? That's a drop in the bucket for launching a hardware. I mean, it gets you a couple of thousand units. When we launch a new product now, my opening salvo order is going to be 50 to 100,000 units because I have the distribution.
$3 or $4 million worth.
Yeah, easy. Boom. Right?
But you do get the email addresses of those true fans.
You do. And so so it might be good to do that. We've contemplated of putting up, multiple ideas and seeing which ones people like. And
bake off.
Yeah, do a bake off and saying, okay, if we can get them.
So like a minimal viable product, yeah.
Yeah. Because we do have numerous crazy prototypes running around the office that are just hilarious, little robots that, probably aren't commercially viable. But
what's the most hilarious, most ridiculously non-commercially viable? Because you won't be giving any up by giving me that.
No, I won't give you up. So we took a Sphero and we opened it up and then we put 2 wheels on it so it became a self-balancing, like Segway on wheels. And then we put a pole on it. And then we put a drop cam at the end of the pole. And then we jammed this old doll head on top of it. So the eye of the doll head, it looks really freaky and crazy. And so it's this mutant baby running around that's a webcam, a Wi-Fi webcam.
That costs $200.
Yeah, that costs $200.
That scares the hell out of people.
It scares, and then they.
So you want to torture kids?
Yeah.
It's a torture your children device.
Yeah.
Scare your children. Scare the bejesus out of your children.
With this device,
the Sphero.
But we do Hack Fridays where people get to experiment and do their own cool concoctions, and we've had some really fun, like this packaging was a Hack Friday event where someone said, you know what, we put this piece of plastic in the box and people throw it away. Let's try to make it something useful.
A ramp would be that. Now people can jump it.
Yeah, and then the cup, you can actually try to land in the cup.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Paul Berberian, thank you so much. The company's Orbotix, Orbotix. Orbotix.
Orbotix.
Like robotics, but Orbotix.
Yes.
Go check out Orbotix. And Go Sphero is the product. Go buy one. If you got a cat, you got a dog, you got a nephew, you got a niece, you got a kid, you got to have a Go Sphero. It's an amazing product. It's completely legitimate. You'll love it. And you can follow Paul on his Twitter account, Paul Berberian, Berberian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Cheers.